Hey, this is Pass coming at you. Honestly, it's been around 3 years since I've given you any video content worth much of anything. Yeah. So today, this is going to be a pretty long video, so if you want to skip it, it's okay, but it's going to be on chaosbreaker. I did want to talk about the Rosemont tournament. Wanted to commend the, 4 or 5 chaos players there. There might have been a few extras, sorry if I missed you. But I did notice some trends I wanted to talk about. Some things that I agree with, some things that maybe I don't agree with, but then again, you all went and played, so there is that. And then I do want to talk about my deck from 2022 that's still up there, the last video before this one, and changes I made before I went to a Kingslayer qualifier that summer of 22, and then how I would change it now given what we have, and how I'd keep it the same. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I noticed chaos players, the ones that did a bit better, I think 21st was the best placing. They definitely were playing heavy on close, and I agree with that. If you're really trying to get that extra card out of their hand, wanting to disrupt things like geese, you're targeting circles, it's actually a really good card. So I think playing 2 to 3 is probably optimal. 1 is a little sus, honestly. You're expecting to maybe see it because it's filling a slot that is for a card that does something similar. That's usually how I see 1-ofs. It's either you're playing a deck that digs so hard that you can go find it, like Grand Blue, or you are basically pseudo-copying the effects. It's kind of like Dubnium and Zirconium. The cards are very similar. Globuladium and others are not at all really mirroring Zirconium, but Dubnium, absolutely. So my build that I tweaked runs 2. So it's basically like running 2 more Zirconiums, but works a bit differently, a little bit harder to use, but then perhaps a little bit more payout. So, but back to this, 2 to 3, I think you're golden. 4, I mean, hey, I'm not going to shame you for it, but definitely if you're wanting to see a card, you're running more than just 1, typically. Unless you're also, Sanctitude, right? We can't run 4 of those. Heck, I'd run 4 of those. Everybody would run 4 of those. That card would get so restricted so fast. So Bushi, good card design. There was one guy, man, you were everywhere, and I commend you for it. Gal guy, I don't know who it was exactly, but you were playing these 2. You were not playing Jewel Knights. Let me see if I've got the other deck here. I mean, it was crazy. No, not that. Let's see, where is it? Do I have it here? I think so. I should have it. Let's see here. I thought I was all ready for this. Guess not. Yeah, here we go. So they were running chaosbreaker. I think they had a freeze ray in there. They had Garnet Star. I like Garnet Star, honestly. I've been looking at playing Legion in my deck. It gets around a few problems, or at least can help mitigate some issues. But they were running all this, and I think they got like 90th. They won like 2 games. They weren't really focused. I think these are all great options, depending on what you want to do. Definitely there was that freeze ray control deck, right, that did fairly well. I think it was in top 8, but I don't remember how it placed. I think it got 8th or something like that. Maybe it was top 12. I don't remember. So anyways, they were playing with these things. This is really funny against Fenrir because it makes Fenrir have to think. But they can kind of pseudo get around this. This is just really funny too. So if this is your Vanguard and your opponent checks over trigger, whatever, they make their Vanguard have the bonus, which if they're reading, they're not going to, but then you just copy. Chances are that's not going to happen. You're going to be playing against good players. Same player, I think, was running this, which the freeze rate control deck was running. A shout out to you. I had to mention it. I think it was really cool. Somebody, I believe, it might have been the same player, was using this as their starter. Again, just, play what you want to play, right? Play what you want to play. But in serious, in terms of competitiveness, I still like close, absolutely. A few of you were running collapse. Collapse is interesting because if you go first, you're going to be able to ride up to grade 3, hopefully chaosbreaker or freeze ray when your opponent's still on grade 1. Now chances are they're going to guard this, but you know, if you get an over trigger or if they just wanted to pass, it's actually pretty good. And I do agree with running maybe 2. I wouldn't just run the 1. Again, you're trying to see something, but 2 to 3. It's not a bad option. I'm not running it. I did think about it, and I think about it quite often. But you also, some of you, I think most of you are running 4. There was one who was running 3, which is typically what I run. So definitely something that we still think about as chaosbreaker players, and probably I would say linkjoker players overall. So running 2 could even be, there's arguments for that as well. So, and then these 2 guys, I think I tend to see this one more. This is an area that I do disagree on. I prefer this over what it does. This doesn't let you select from your opponent's discard, so I'm not really super excited about that. But it does have some valid plays. This here, yeah, it's tiny, it's small, it's not hitting hard, but just overall has more power in terms of, in my opinion, of what it does. So just my own opinion. I could be wrong, I could be right, who knows. I would say maybe it's dependent as well. Most people seem to run one of these. I don't. I like to have a grade 2 defensive game. This doesn't help me at all, and there are other ways to get counter charge. We now have our Regalious Piece, and we also have Cosmo Wraith PG flippers. And if you're playing a Chaos Messiah build, you have access to things like Sacrifice. Yeah, Dober potentially as well, but I think the card's too intense, and really it's for certain other situations. But if you're playing Chaos Messiah, I would go more Sacrifice. We're gonna get into that in a bit. This seemed to be a favorite as well, which I also agree with. I've been thinking a lot about this. People out there, you know, running Blink without a way to maximize its use. I don't totally agree with that. Using Blink without being able to use this ability to go into Soul to give you extra Soul and draw off in that manner, the card is somewhat dead. Sure, it's a great crit that draws defensively. And we know that draw triggers defensively are probably one of the most powerful defensive plays in the game. So with that said, the card has massive merit. However, I would argue that something like this, you know, you're going to be able to, in Chaos especially, something like this, we tend to have weak columns. This is going to help that problem. And you can guard with this and then put it into Soul. So not only are you helping your offense, you are also helping build Soul, which a lot of the cards in the G zone require Soul blasting. So it's a really good choice, and I totally agree with it, and I was happy to see that people were playing that. The other thing I saw popping up was this guy. Now, I thought that was interesting, and maybe that's something that people over the last 3 years have decided, you know, hey, this is really beneficial. I'm going to be reconsidering this myself. I think that was really awesome. So that was a takeaway for me, was that I was agreeing with this already, hadn't seen it, but I went and looked at the list from Rosemont, and some of you were running this, and then this really left field. I was like, wow, you guys are on something going on here. So gonna definitely be looking at that. Yeah, but congrats to all of you who were able to go there and just enjoy yourselves playing and strutting Chaos. I think it's great. So getting into my build from a couple of years ago when I adjusted it, some changes were made, and I want to talk about the changes first. I tend to like to play with 3 Paradigm because 3 Paradigm allows you to get in a situation where you stack the 3, those are the only 3 left, you don't stride, you drive check 2, right? You don't lose. And that's really one of the major reasons why I like running 3, if that is going to happen. The other is if you damage check 1, you still have the 2 running around in your deck or in your hand. Maybe in the discard, who knows, you know, but you definitely are upping your chances of cycling this. It is a weaker trigger in the sense of strength. However, it is a stronger trigger in the sense that you just have basically infinite crits. And that's pretty strong in any deck. I did take out a, so what I'm trying to say is my current build only has 2, which I don't like. But it worked okay. I qualified, but I then didn't go. I spent time with family, but anyhow, this was replaced, or this came out for Sanctitude, so that makes sense. That's typically what people are doing. I took out Bakun. Bakun's something I mentioned in my previous video of not really totally sold on it. Bakun could potentially go back in now with some of the decks that are running around, but again, Bakun came out. I went up to a 4th Rollock, so there is that. I took this out so that I could just squeeze in more cards. I did go up to 10 grade 2s. I will say I was very happy to see the one Chaos player. I think it was the Chaos player that placed the highest, actually, who was only playing with 8 grade 2s. My hat's off to you. Yeah, we can absolutely get away with 8 grade 2s. But the build I have right now does have 10. And then I took out Barl. One of the reasons I took out Barl, and this is a really good card, by the way, especially with Freeze Ray, using this and then proccing Freeze Ray after, and then setting up Omega Locks, right? This, it was kind of reactionary to Harmonics being reprinted and what Harmonics does. But who in their right mind is going to empty their hands to unlock? I mean, I can see it happening. However, you know, Barl, I think, still has a place here. But that did come out as well, and I'd say that was somewhat reactionary, as I was already saying. I took out this card to put in Cosmic Dawn, and I adjusted the deck a little bit more. So I took out the Craze. I think this only has 3. Yeah, it only has 3 Guardians, which was fine, honestly, because the 1 Guardian is super strong. So, okay, so let's look at this deck first. And then we're going to go into what I've been working on recently, which is a new version of Chaos Messiah. Yeah, and it's going to showcase a stride that I don't think any of us have blown the dust off for a long time. So whatever starter you like is the best starter for you, and it's the one you should run. For Freeze Ray. If you want to hit Freeze Ray, I would say run 4. If that's what you absolutely want to hit and you know that you need to hit because of the meta, for Freeze Ray. And something I want to point out right now real quick, I have a problem with Freeze Ray without Rollock. I have a problem with Freeze Ray without Rollock because you want to maximize Freeze Ray. If you can get onto Freeze Ray with 0 damage, you have effectively maximized Freeze Ray. And I think that's really important. Does that mean you should play, you shouldn't play Freeze Ray without Rollock? No, not at all. I'm just saying if you want to maximize it, and I found this beneficial when playing against the Kingslayer group, and those guys are great players, right? I mean, yeah, they're good. So it's a good testing ground for anything. But Rollock actually did come into play. I've skipped going up to grade 3 so that I could use Rollock again, as I mentioned in my previous video. This is a very, very good card. And in fact, against Fenrir, this is great, right? Because if you skip grade, they go into their play, and they're like, oh, what are you doing? You've got 2 or 3 of these in hand with Sanctitude? I mean, you're doing well. And yeah, so I'm not saying that's why you should run it. I'm just giving an extreme example. Because if they're behind ladder, things are kind of broken, right? So I thought it was very interesting. Fenrir not doing too hot at Rosemont. I think there probably were some, but yeah, we had other things at top. Shadow Paladin, man, crazy times. So for Rollock, maximizing Freeze Ray, and then my lock assist suite is basically in the grade 2. So 4 photon, you know I like to run 3 to 4. Sometimes I run 2 dubnium and 4 zirconium. Dubnium is effectively zirconium 1/2, I would say. It's GB2 locked. It works a little differently, but it does get a +10 and draw a card if your opponent didn't take a card from hand and put it down on the field as locked. So kind of sounds like zirconium, like very much so. So this is a suite I ran. If you go back and look at old decks in 22 as well, this was being ran by a player who did really well. If you go back and look at Fuzzy Paradox, you look at the list of chaos decks, go all the way back, you'll see I wasn't the only one who was on this. So dubnium is still very relevant, and in fact it's my favorite third here other than Cold Death or Globulatum. So it's just more pressuring. And actually this, I believe I dropped this with Cosmic Dawn as well, which was pretty cool. Yeah, so I'm not saying that's why you run it, it's just was something that happened. So 4 claw, because claw grabs basically everything other than Rollock, unfortunately. 3 of White Dwarf, because I've been running 3 forever and 3 works for me. 2 minerals. Notice people running minerals. I absolutely agree with minerals. Minerals is amazing. If you're running chaos and you're not even thinking about minerals, or you're saying minerals isn't necessary, this card synergizes with that one. This card literally says, I'm gonna draw a card in the middle of battle. I'm gonna retire something off the field. That's a static, or no, I shouldn't say static. That's a not as relevant really part of it, but you're gonna draw something. What is relevant is you're going to pull markers, if there are markers, if somebody did a history stride. So it's kind of like having half a heal in hand, right? Because a heal off of our one Guardian is going to get 2 cards off the field and draw 2 cards off proccing this. So I wouldn't downplay this at all, and I would like to run 2, not 1, if you want to see it. Sanctitude, unfortunately, is at 1. Probably fortunately is at 1. I still have Mini Colony Maker because I had space for it. It's really good. As you see, I was still strutting 3 draw PGs rather than throwing in Thorium or Cosmorith. So that's where I was at that point. I've pretty much moved on to just running the 1 draw. But the way I had to build right now was this. I was still on Elder Breath and probably will still be on that for a while. Although I will say the purple heal over trigger is definitely something you should consider. Taking out 1 PG draw and 1 paradigm, which I don't agree with. If I had to just adjust this deck right now without any new cards or any new thoughts going on, I would go down on one of these and put back in another paradigm. So that would be up to 3. 4 stride fodder and 4 of the defensive grade 2 game, which is what I was talking about earlier. I get it, believe me, I understand why people run the 1 other heal, totally. I just, for me, yeah, it's not happening. So there's that. I don't find I need it, honestly. I find I would rather, again, get up to freeze ray without damage than be running that. So these are 2 cards that went in. Actually, there were 3 cards that went in right around that time. We got this set, right? 22. A really good set. Honestly, this and these were great additions to Premium. Bushiro, please. More Fighters Collection. So the cool thing about this is it can extend your attacks, right? You're gonna attack, and then you've already attacked with maybe you, let's just say, these are rear guards, right? Attack, 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 and drop 2 more rear guards down, flip them, attack, attack. Just really good, right? Yeah, and these are gonna be standing unlocked before you drive check. So say you drive check an OT and this has been carded, you put it over here. Maybe the way you build it, you drive check a front, 2 fronts, plus 20, right? Everywhere. So yeah, some good stuff. So those I added in that suite. Still have Universe. Still have Alpha Thani, which has been very relevant for me. It's always hard for me to take this card out because players who don't fill their board, they're wanting to go up to grade 3 and then drop their hand. I'm just drawing cards, and that's good. I still run the 2, which has been relevant. I do have a 3rd if I need it, but it's really not coming to picture too much. 2 of this because I will still argue you only need 2. I left 2 of these in here. I typically run the 2 if I'm running Alt Wilder, so that I can then empty board, but it's still in there nonetheless. Barrioan, Stark, because Stark wins many games, and then 2 of the best Guardian that we have. So, yeah. So that's that. Okay. We already talked about this. We already talked about Rosemont and the really cool stuff going on there. Now I want to talk to you about if you're getting into Chaos, if you're getting into Vanguard and you want to play Premium and you really like the linkjoker aesthetic, in particular the cyber units linkjoker has in Starvaders in particular, then this will hopefully help you out as well. So with the Guardians, we run the 1 Sanctitude, right? And then we decide on, are we gonna run 3 PG draws within our triggers, which is not bad, you can do this. Or do you run 1 and 2 grade 1s? Or do you just do Sanctitude and 3 grade 1s? So I tend to be of the mindset of I'm going to keep in the 1 PG draw, and I'm going to run either a set of this or a set of this. And it tends to be because there are too many grade 1s I want to run. We actually have a lot of good grade 1s, and I was just talking about one here, Barrel, which I've taken out. It's kind of hard, right? Because I want to run it if I could, but this helps me keep the number of grade 1s down, and it also allows me in my list of triggers to have more play. Say I want to play Blink because I'm running Messiah effects, you know, that allow me to use its card fully, or if I just want to use it as a crit that is a draw off defense, which seems to be what some people are doing, and can be good, right? If it works for you, do it. If it works for you. But the one thing you want to think about is, do we swap around the PGs? And so thorium's cool because yes, you can search off claw and get thorium. Okay, cool. You can also do that off this, which I think is kind of cool. You do this, you look at the, what is it, top 7 instead of top 5. You find one of these, you put it down, you put it to your hand, right? So there's that. You can do that. The other thing you can do is you could use Carbon. You could go get this, and then with one of your effects, like one of your G guards, lock this, and then you're on your next turn when you go into this and you swing. This is a lock card. You can send this to your hand, right? So Carbon's going to allow you to hard search it. Claw is just off the top 5. This is off the top 7. Carbon together with this, you know, it's like playing chess, right? You're thinking way ahead. If that's how your game's going to go, and you know this is going to put enough pressure to either finish the opponent or get yourself a lot closer, and you're going to survive. You're at least going to have the 1 PG in hand to help you survive, right? So I like that play, and I think thorium's really worth it. If you're playing with a heavy amount of lock power, then this is also really good too, because if your opponent has 3 locked cards, you draw a card when you play this. So I would say the way my deck is built right now and the way most people's decks are built, having 2 locked on the field is not difficult at all in any way. With things like glue ball, definitely a whole locked field. This is going to be more of a late game perfect guard in that regard. But if you play with a lot more lock power early game, then this becomes even more useful in that regard. So this is just a PG flipper. What does that mean? PG flipper means if you have one of these in the discard, and any Cosmo Wreath, could be your PG draw. Sorry, my discard's off here. If you have this in the discard, this or the PG draw, when you perfect guard with this, you check for if there's one in the discard. If there happens to be one, you countercharge one. So pretty good. And the fact that it can check the PG draw, that gives you two chances to countercharge, right? So countercharge or draw cards. Countercharge or draw cards plus be somewhat searchable or just downright searchable with carbon. So yeah, pretty cool. So I wanted to talk about that. So as a Link Joker player, as a Starvader player, that's one of the things you're going to think about. Hanali. A lot of decks that like to extend attacks, never forget about Hanali. I'd run this at 2 to 3. If you really want to be seeing this, the field is full of people that are just restanding rear guards and it's swing. I'd run 3. It's a very good card. There's nothing bad about that card at all, really, honestly. Having more heals in your deck, really strong card. This is a card where I could run it at 1 because, again, remember what I was saying. It acts as a heal, so it's like having a 5th heal. If this had its own ability on its own, I'd run at least 2. But I should say it does have an ability of its own, but it's the fact that it's acting as an extra heal that I'm mostly interested in. The other ability is actually really good too. So, but I wouldn't run that at more than 2. And I know some of y'all have been running that. Blink again. I like Blink. I think Blink should be in a Chaos Messiah deck, which is what you're about to see. You want to run some form of these. I think it's really funny that Forbidal is really good in Brant because it lets you go get the grade 3 Colossus, which makes your opponent drive check an extra card, plus go get grade 4 Brant, which is in your hand, so you can re-ride. Yeah, I like that. But in Starvaders, I'd run one of these. I tend to go towards this because of just resources, right? So, and let's see what we got here. So let's talk about Chaos Messiah. Let's talk about this. Chaos Messiah. So back in the day, in 2016, 17, something like that, we would run old Chaos, not this one, the old one. And we would sprinkle in as much of the Messiah suite as we could. So let's see here. We were running this at the time too. And then we had Blink. At some point, we had Blink. So the thing with old chaosbreaker is it had to check for Starvaders to use its effect. So you wanted to minimize the amount of these non-chaos cards. And so this is fairly standard. Okay. You wouldn't run Blink because it's just adding more. Most likely wouldn't run Blink. A 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 package is what we would go for with the Arrestor and Sacrifice. We would run 4 of this, probably 2 Destiny Dealer, if I remember. I used to play this deck. I should know. I believe it was 2, just to keep the numbers down because you're running Charcoal, Palladium, Zinc, and yeah. So, and then we'd run 2 to 3 of this, and then of course Chaos. And then Freeze Ray would get mixed in here too. Some of us were playing with Freeze Ray. I was one of those people. So the problem with this is, again, you had to check Chaos to be able to retire and draw, right? That was a problem. But now we don't have that problem. So we can go back and revisit this with less restriction, right? So this is one way to go about it. If you want to play Chaos Messiah, you want to go into this first. So you may run 3 of this now. Maybe you run 3 Destiny Dealers so you can go get this. You can do your History Strike, get your markers. You'll have access to really cool cards like this, which has a guard restrict against, what is it, grade 1 or higher. So if your opponent's running grade 1 PGs, doesn't get around Sanctitude. I think it says Call, right? So yeah, it doesn't get around that, but you could do this. I'm not doing that because, well, you'll see why. You'll see why. Let's see, how would I explain this best? I'm not doing this because I don't think that Alter Ego is going to be my best first ride. There you go. And Alter Ego would need to be my best first ride if I wanted to maximize this with the history stride, right? So, and maybe I'm wrong. You know, if I go first, this is going to be really good, right? This is going to be really good. So should I try to sprinkle this in? It's going to take slots, right? It's going to take slots, but maybe. And I can get access to something like that too, maybe. So something to think about. What I'm wanting to do, I'll show you guys here. And let's see here. Let's bring this out. Flagellate. I want access to integral. And I'm bringing back one of the best lockers in the game. Most free locker in the game. Absolutely super free. So we'll talk about these in a bit. But I'm a Nubatama player. I want to play a Nubatama card. Yeah. So this deck is kind of what would happen if a Nubatama player built a Link Joker deck. So it's kind of what this is. It's kind of silly like that. So what's up with this guy? So the way this card works is it's GB1. So you're gonna want to be on your stride, Flagellate for example. Shove this into Soul. You lock one of your cards, and then you choose. You choose one of your opponent's cards to lock. Not your opponent chooses. Okay? Yeah. Choose one of your opponent's. That's powerful. That's just as powerful as this, right? So he got a friend. However, this requires a card to be locked. This does not. Okay? Much more powerful in that regard. And not only that, behind something like Flagellate becomes even more powerful. So we're still running Photon, don't get me wrong. We're gonna be on Chaos or Freeze Ray, potentially. But that's gonna be our heart, our stride. It's gonna be Flagellate. So this brings in a whole slew of cards for us. Where did they go? Where did the whole slew of cards go? Oh, they're right here, okay. So if we're on a Chaos, or we're on a stride that's, sorry if these cards are going in and out. If we're on this, we're on a Messiah stride. This can go into Soul. This can give us the added bonuses. This goes in. We no longer have to depend on this for extra. We can run Thorium for our counter charges. We've got this, right? We've got Sacrifice. And then we have another locker. This guy, he's going to lock himself and lock a back row unit. It attacks, and then it does that. That back row unit can be your unit, or it can be your opponent's unit. It's pretty cool, right? So now we have access to, oh, and I mentioned Thorium, so let's get Thorium out here, right? We have access to her. This card's amazing. This card can revive itself from the damage. Or not damage, the drop zone, the discard, right? So, yeah. And we're gonna want to throw that in. Pretty cool, right? So that's where my headspace is right now. And so let's go ahead and let's build the deck. Threes, twos, ones, and I'm going to eat some crow here too, because some cards aren't going to stay around, but you'll see how it goes. So good, So good. And you guys just had to do that to me, didn't you? Okay. So I'm gonna run the same starter. This build, if you have the SP starter for Messiah and you don't want to run the deleter, run it. It would be thematic. So, okay. We're going to drop Dubnium, drop a Photon, okay. Here, Rollock. This is the crow I'm talking about. Taking it out. Flageolet Omega Locks, friends. I don't want to be flipping up Omega Lock cards, usually, but we could. Okay. This is probably gone. These are gone. This is gone. Still only 2 Paradigm. Sad face. Okay, let's see what we got. We'll adjust our grade 3s here in a second. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. I know I had to change this up a little bit more. I really like this card. It's a really good first ride too, because if I Soul Blast it, it's going to be able to revive itself. We're gonna just put 1 of that in, right? Kind of crazy. I worked on this deck all yesterday, and I think running the 1 is gonna be good because we're probably gonna have to go down to 2 Photon, but we still have that to lock with. And of course, we still have Zirconium, so we should be okay. We're gonna put that like that. We'll see. Grade 1s and 0s. So 2 Thorium and 3 Spiral Nebula. I believe we have to take these out as well because we need Sacrifice, right? Sacrifice Messiah. Okay, 3 Spiral, 2 and 2. There we go. This thing goes into Soul. This thing is gas for the deck. I remember running this thing with Flageolet, trying to get this deck to work. It's a 2016. It was tough times, but yeah, I remember vividly remember. So grade 1s and grade 0s. I think we have to drop a Photon. Oh, we've got it up here. We'll talk about this in a second. So grade 1s, 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't count. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now we have access to a really good PG. We can somehow try to get it if we can draw cards, because we're gonna be blocking a lot. We still have Claw or Searcher, and we still have this Searcher. We could potentially go down to just the 2. Probably could. So that's another idea there. Okay. Let's go ahead and finish off our changing of the guard here in the triggers. And put in these. Yeah, see, we need this. We need that. And we kind of want a 3rd one of this. Low key, not gonna lie. Okay, so let's look at where changes are. This is my change up pile. Okay. So blink comes in. What is this? Oh yeah, this all goes here. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay. And then here, no, it hurts. Play that. And, play this. Put this over here. So this slot here, these two, one of these can be another photon. Okay, one of them can be another photon, and it probably will be. Yeah, photon's just too useful. It's just way too useful. Okay. Whew. So now we're back to where people aren't gonna hopefully dislike the video as much, even though it's long. And then here, the other grade 3 I'm thinking about, I should say the other OT that I'm thinking about is this as well. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about this in a second. And this here, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Freeze ray control influencer right there. That's what that player was running. So this goes into our change-ups. And we might come back to that. So again, this is more of a workshop. You guys know I like to do this sometimes. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. I like Legion, and Legion actually helps against things like Shout. Legion helps against anything that's trying to mill you. Legion helps you against yourself, honestly, because you can mill yourself out. And so I do like Garnet Star. Garnet Star targets. So if your opponent is behind ladder, it targets. This does not target. If your opponent's behind ladder, you drop this, you lock their field. It's gravy. I mean, it's amazing. Remember what I said about freeze ray? And if I don't have roll lock, yeah. I'm going to be taking damage. Freeze ray is not going to be optimal for me. However, let's do this. Let's do it this way. Let's run one. If this gets damaged, we can use our OT to get it if we drive check it. If it gets damaged or if it gets dropped. How much do we need this card? We'll run the one. We'll keep the 2 freeze ray. And run the 1 close. Freeze ray. Let's see if I like this. We don't have to be on chaosbreaker first because we're trying to omega lock. So let's keep in the goods. Wow, that's a trash freeze ray. It's probably the one I should use. Yeah, 3 freeze ray. I like this better. Okay. So chances to hit freeze ray. We want to go into chaosbreaker basically second. Probably not going to run Stark because I only have 3 chaosbreaker. Chaosbreaker is really good as a rear guard, by the way. I like it. Cosmic Dawn, shout out. I actually think I did that as well. I Cosmic Dawn and I kept this on a rear guard circle and it was a 23k beater. Drive check into triggers and then there you go. And then, remember what I said about not wanting to play one of a card? It's painful, man. It's painful, fam. Let's do this. Keep freeze ray out for now. Let's just go to town. And let's do this. Let's just do pure chaos. Okay? I'll show you why I'm running 3. You can do what you want here. And I'm pretty sure this is not going to end up being like this. But again, this is just a workshop. And I want to be able to talk about plays as well. Sacrifice is really important, actually, in this deck. So let's just do that. Let's do pure freeze ray for now. I really like this, or pure chaos for now. Freeze ray, of course, love the card. It's probably going to go back in, but I do want to show you some stuff. And I don't want the video to go on for like 9 hours. So there's our chaos part of the deck with Messiah pieces. This is the Messiah part. Big Messiah part right here. Cosmic Dawn out. Let's see. This is out. Out. Stark could stay because of that. But I don't have Vandal in. Okay, so we want 3 in. Okay. And then we're not running Alt Wilder, although that may go back in. Because remember I said new Atomic player playing linkjoker. So we need, in order for this to proc, so that your opponent goes down to 5 cards, you go down to 5 as well, but your opponent goes to 5. You need to have 3 face-up Messiah cards. So technically you could just do this, okay? So this is gonna go real fast because I want to speed up the video for you guys. So your first stride will be this, okay? Your first stride is gonna be that. And let's say you've got some damages. You play this, they lock a card, that's 1 locked card. You don't have a locked card. You need something to be locked. Maybe when they locked, you locked. Okay, but you need a locked card for this card to work effectively, the way you want it to work, the way I want it to work. This in the soul, maybe you use this, then you locked a card. You choose. So your opponent locks the back row, maybe you get to draw a card, you lock a card. This goes into soul. You lock this to get the counterblast back. You only need 1 counterblast up because if you got this, you're gonna be able to countercharge, right? Let's say you've got, I don't know, you've got this here, and maybe you've got, I don't know, this here. So you've locked 1, 2, 3 cards on your opponent's side. So Thorium's pretty useful right now, right? So now with your one CB, your 1 counterblast, you can do this entire play with 1 counterblast. When you attack, you're going to flip up a Flageolet, and you're going to unlock as many cards as you want. You unlock your 2 cards, and then you're going to Omega Lock. Let's see how this works again. Choose up to 2 cards, locked. For each Flageolet Messiah, face up. Choose up to 2 cards that's locked. Unlock them, so I can only unlock 2. If 1 or more were unlocked, then you're going to Omega Lock the rest, right? Let me see here. I need a flashlight. Sorry, fam. It's really hard for me to see. Sucks getting old. I'm telling you. If you guys knew how old I was, you'd be like, what? You still play Vanguard? Yeah, I do. I do still play Vanguard. Let me get a real bright light real quick. Yeah, I was right. Sorry for the 1 minute delay. So you unlock the 2. So you'd unlock the 2 for each card, each of this face up, which is why I'd run 3 copies if you want to do it later on. You flip these 2 up, and then your opponent's board is Omega locked, basically. So we don't run Barrel anymore, but we have Barrel effect in a stride. And the stride's going to help us get to Integral, which is our win con, basically, as the new Batama player playing linkjoker, right? And then, you know, you drive check and swing and all that. So, yeah. Next turn, if, you know, assuming you survive, you're going to stride into this. Damage your opponent. And then you can flip, you got to flip up to get yourself ready. You got to flip up a Messiah. So let's say we do this. Let's say we just flip up harmonics. And let's say we're not running because we want more space, right? Because that's getting us ready for next turn. Okay? And you damage your opponent, all that. That goes up here. And then this, fortunately, this is an SP. I can read this better. So, yeah, when this is put on the Vanguard circle, you and your friend are going to shuffle your hands into your decks and draw 5. Cool. Okay. This is where the new Batama stuff comes in. In order to stride into that, how about drop some of these? What does that feel like, right? Yeah, it takes a lot of soul, but you're playing Blink, and you're playing Blink with Messiahs. So your Blinks are useful, right? Say you just got 2 of these. Let's not be greedy. Let's not be greedy. Say you got 2. Well, your opponent has 3 cards in hand when they're going to guard. Pretty cool, right? I like it. I know it's not original. I know some of y'all out there have been thinking about this anyways, but I did want to show you Flagellate, because Flagellate's how I would go about it. Yeah. So Flagellate Messiah, that's the Messiah part here, okay? Along with the things like Sacrifice. And, you know, we've got this, right? So we can extend our attacks. Attack, give this +5, this locks, give this +3. If your opponent locked a card in the back row, this is now a 28k beater. When you swing with your Flagellate, you unlock these 2. So you just extended your attacks, right? And you can also do that with this card, because it's got the other ability, right? You can extend attacks too. So it extends attacks, it shrinks the hand. It's really cool. It feels like new Batama. It's not as fast as Sukumoricon, but it's similar in a way. No, I don't want to get it banned, but I thought it was pretty cool. So just wanted to share this with you. I know it's been almost an hour, and I appreciate any of you who have flown through this with me. So Freeze Ray will probably be in here somehow. Just wanted to show you what you could do, and was pretty hyped about it. Again, congrats to those who just, you had the guts to take Chaos to Rosemont. I think it's great. Play what you want to play. And until next time, peace.